All right, thank you so much for joining today in discovering the secrets of consciousness. So, in the new year, we continue with 2 more meetings in this series, and then the next chapter will be announcing itself as "My kingdom is not of this world." But for now, we're discovering secrets. There are 2 more secrets to go, and today I can tell you it's quite revealing. The title is Impersonalization and Non-Resistance. And we're going to do something with this, because these are, especially the impersonalization part in Joel's teaching, is kind of complicated, it looks like. Now we're going to make that simpler today, and at least make an attempt to do so. So there's a secret in there that you might not have discovered, and that's the one that's going to be revealed today. So you could prepare for this meeting, like I sent out in the email, with a little story, you could say, some recitation of Joel, Jesus, science, and a poem by Teilhard de Chardin. And so this was a preparation for today's meeting, but we use every ingredient today too. And of course we're going to listen to Joel later on, and we listen to the first half hour of the tape that is referencing like impersonalization illustrated. So that's the one that we're going to take a listen to now. Okay, that's enough information for now. We're going to start with meditation, with calming down, with like, okay, why are we here in the new year? Why are we here? Basically to get in touch with the stillness within, letting that speak for itself, letting that help us to recognize what is actually given in this instant. Like this moment is whole, its presence is total, and this is your possibility to experience that. And the practice is then be still, listen, relax, breathe, relax your shoulders, and all this. Like, we know the drill, but it's good to remember it all the time. It's like, oh yeah, wait. All right, yeah, sit back, relax. Okay, so today I use something from this book, The Mystical Eye of Joel. Just a little bit, a prayer, a meditation, you could say. I use some words of Joel, and I would love to share them with you. So that's why we're going to start with, and then we get right into the matter of impersonalization and non-resistance. So you see here, universal consciousness, meditation with the words of Joel Goldsmith. It's an excerpt from chapter 8 in The Mystical Eye, and the title of the chapter is actually The Eye Speaks. So here we are. So sit back and relax. I can close my eyes and instantaneously have within me the peoples of all races and of all ages, past, present and future. My consciousness is large enough to embody all of these, and therefore, if the presence of God is with me in my consciousness, then the presence of God is with everyone and everything in my consciousness. And nothing exists outside of my consciousness, for my consciousness is infinite. I can close my eyes and instantaneously have within me the peoples of all races and of all ages, past, present and future. My consciousness is large enough to embody all of these, and therefore, if the presence of God is with me in my consciousness, then the presence of God is with everyone and everything in my consciousness. And nothing exists outside of my consciousness, for my consciousness is infinite. Why is it infinite? Because God and I are one, and all that the Father has is mine. Therefore, all the God consciousness is my consciousness, individualized. We saw this in one of the first meetings. Singular, it's individualized. God consciousness is my consciousness, individualized. And that consciousness embraces all there is in this universe that constitutes the world and the worlds beyond worlds and the worlds of outer space. Why is it infinite? Because God and I are one, and all that the Father has is mine. Therefore, all that the God consciousness is my consciousness individualized, and that consciousness embraces all there is in this universe that constitutes the world and the worlds beyond worlds and the worlds of outer space. Okay, so now we're going to listen to Michel, who shares this in French. Thank you so much for joining in the meditation and becoming still. It takes what it takes. It's always like you can't plan it. It is just given. That's so beautiful. So great being here with you, present, in full expectation, not expecting anything, but it's like a secret is going to be revealed today too. And this is a surprise because I prepare using whatever comes to me. I use it to prepare like a part of the talk, some other books of Joel that I use to prepare, some science, some this, some that. And listening to that and reading that, letting that sink in and see what happens. Then something occurs. So this is what I want to share with you, because it's like the way that I prepared is just the basis for what I'm actually giving to you now, and that is this. Like in the procedure that Joel describes, you will hear it in the talk that we're going to listen to. So in the procedure that Joel describes as impersonalization and as non-resistance, like impersonalization, Joel uses a lot, especially in the earlier talks. Later on, and in the books, not always there's too much about that, because I looked for it. But here's the thing, and that is impersonalization is a process that Joel basically is giving to you. He's offering it to you as, well, here, this is the specific part of the infinite way that will give you much fruitage, that literally is very profitable for you to learn to apply, learn to use. And the impersonalization part is one part of it, but there are actually 3 steps. So one of them also is the nullifying matter, like nullifying aspect of it. Now, what is this? This literally came to me to share, so that's why I'm using the time for that to explain. Like you can say, like, okay, so I'm in a situation, or Joel uses a very specific example, like his For instance, the family, your family. Now, there can be, in your family, there can be sickness, pain, death, limitation, unemployment. He uses all these terms. It's like, now how are you going to look at this? Because basically, there's a different way to look at it. We're not going to repair anything. We're not going to fix it. We're not going to, like, no, but something else needs to happen. And this something else is really the part that we're looking at today. Like if I see that somebody is sick, or if I see that somebody is in limitation or experiencing pain or is suffering one way or another, what is that? Does that have any reality? Because it is not what God created, right? God doesn't know about limitation. So here's a bit of a paradox that I find myself, or a dilemma, whatever you want to call it. It's fine with me. It's like, I know better. I know better in the sense of when I read the books of Joel, when I let this come to me, then I know better. It's like, I and my Father are one. There's just one of us. There's one consciousness. There's nothing else outside my consciousness. We just practice that in the meditation. Now here I find a situation that isn't perfect. Now what to do with that? You probably have wondered this many times. Like, now what am I supposed to do with this? Because it seems like I'm denying what I actually know. Does this other consciousness think differently? Does this other consciousness suffer? And what does that have to do with me? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Now Joel basically brings it back to a treatment setup in which the patient comes into the office and expresses his limitations or his suffering or his whatever. So this is a nice, clear example. Now, this one is coming in, like bringing with him all the limitations defined from their own experience. They're literally experiencing that. And you recognize this too. You have your moments too in which you experience this. Your limitations, who knows what it is. So what Joel does with that, and then what he instructs basically is to say, like, well, first we got to recognize that this one is a being of God. It's like it's a complete whole being of God. So everything that comes your way to in fact for healing is the limitations and the pain and the disease, disaster and whatever. I basically don't do anything with that. Joel said it many times, like I in fact throw it in the basket, like throw it in the waste bin. We're not going to do anything with that. Otherwise we would be a repair service for limitations. Like here, your limitations are going to be converted into perfection. So that's not what we do in the Infinite Way office, healing office, and the healing center of the Infinite Way. So that's why I had like, but okay, what is this then? What is this? What is it actually what we're talking about? What is it if you don't look at it as a personal thing of someone experiencing limitation? What is that? How do I deal with that? Using impersonalization, like the evil and the limitation is not personal, but this person is experiencing it as personal. But in reality, it's not personal. So here comes the term impersonalization. Like, no, it's basically mortal mind, carnal mind, whatever you want to call it, is experiencing limitation because it believes in opposites. It believes in this and that, in healthy and sick, and poor and rich, and all the opposites. I will not all mention them. They're all over the place. Now, the belief in that, Joel brings that back too in this talk. He says, consciousness is one. There's no such thing as a mortal mind. There's no such thing as a carnal mind. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as that. In reality, there's no such thing as that. And this you can, it's like, yeah, of course. No, sure, that makes sense. That's reasonable. So here, basically, you see dissolve the idea of a limiting dream that you find yourself in, a dream of limitation where you experience all these things, thinking that you could get that, believing because you believe in opposites. Now, in order to come to the experience of wholeness or healing or completedness within yourself, you will have to release those ideas. You will have to let go of what you think about yourself or who you think you are, because you're mistaken in who you think you are if you experience limitation, lack and disease and disaster. Like you experience yourself as something else, and there is nothing else. So that how you experience yourself cannot be what reality is. So this, of course, this comes back like now almost full circle here, because knowing who you are is really the discovery that is to make. Like you have to come to know who you are in order to recognize that there is nothing to defend yourself against. Like there's nothing to resist here. So if I would, this is on the side note then, it's like if I would say like resist not evil, and this is one of the terms that we use a lot, resist not evil. But here's the thing, here's the slippery thing. Do you believe that this evil has power? Do you believe that this evil actually exists? So why are you responding to it in the first place? You think that evil does have power, and you think that evil exists. So you see that continuously you're separating yourself off from totality. You think there's something else too. You think there's also a sick body. You think there's also aging. You think that there's also a world out there and a president out there and powers out there and threats out there and on and on and on. It's like, no, none of that is so. None of that is so, because there's only one consciousness, and that is yours. Individualized in you is a totality of consciousness that literally is all-inclusive. There's nothing outside of it. We just said it in the meditation. There's nothing outside of it. So now, putting that all on a big pile, you could say, and this is really the secret that was given to me to share with you, and that is this. So this whole thing with disease, disaster, lack and limitation that comes your way, with seeing that, with seeing like, no, it's not personal, it just exists because I think there's something else too, but it doesn't really have a reality. Now, in this process, or you can also add the idea of nullifying, it's like you have to see the meaninglessness of your thoughts about it in order to set yourself free. But that is not as easy as you think, because you really think that you are you within the limitations of your own definitions. Now, like I said, we're putting this all on a big pile. Now, what is the process? What is this actual activity that we're performing here? What is another word for it? And this is so incredibly important and literally makes everything so simple, because we know from the Master what he was teaching. We know Sermon on the Mount. We know all of this. And what is that? Forgiveness. What is impersonalization, nullifying, and all this? It's the forgiveness. What do I forgive? What I think I see, what I think is going on, which I know cannot have any reality, but I believe that it has reality, and I need to literally let it go. What is that process called? Forgiveness. You do not do unto others what you do unto yourself, like, or vice versa, basically. That's one thing. It's like, love your God with all of your heart, but not because then you get the rewards of God. No, because you're one with God. And God is what love is. So forgiveness is literally recognizing, basically, everything that you think isn't perfect, isn't complete, isn't whole, isn't healthy, or isn't like healed, does not have reality. I have to let go of my ideas about it. I have to see it for what it is. I don't have to resist it, but I certainly don't want to make it real, because it has no reality. This is what forgiveness is. This is the process of forgiveness taught by the Master, by Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Forgive 70 times 7. Forgive, 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 forgive. So if you have trouble with the words of impersonalization and nullification, if you are confused by that, think of it as forgiveness, because that makes it so simple. Literally, I have to let go of every idea that I hold about anyone, myself included, God included, Jesus included, all inclusive. Like, what I think about it has no reality whatsoever, no matter what I make of it, because all my all the value that I placed is based on an idea of duality, an idea of opposites, an idea of limitation. If I can define it, I limit it. If I perceive it, I limit it. If I judge it, I limit it. So judge not, that ye be not judged. And we saw this in the preparation too. It's like, judge not. Because literally, when you judge, you place yourself outside of totality. You say like, no, this one is not good. This one does this, and that's not good. So what do? You place yourself outside of it. You think it has nothing to do with you. So here's the big turnaround in the idea of forgiveness, is the inclusion of all of this. Recognizing there's only one consciousness. There's nothing outside yourself. So everything that's coming your way is not a fact that's going to be used against you by judging God. No, you judged this. You had an idea about it. Now we're going to judge righteous. Joel will say exactly the same words. Now you judge righteous judgment, which is what? That you literally, by you having no idea about it, it can be as it is. It doesn't need your definitions. It doesn't need your judgment. It doesn't need anything. It is already whole and perfect, like it is already whole unto itself. And it's a total part of you. So any idea that you hold about it will separate you off, with, like, in the illusion of separation, of course, because that has no reality. How do you return back to totality? Forgive. Let go of this idea. Let go of what you think is right. Let go of what you think should happen. Let go of how you think your world should look. Let go of how you think your family should look. Let go of all of these things that we're talking about. All of it. Sickness, death, pain, longevity, anything. Let all these ideas go, in order to let totality, like completeness, be revealed to you. It's going to be given to you. Now it can be given to you because your consciousness is open, is receptive. It's not cluttered up by your definitions and judgments. No, that's why forgiveness works. It is wide open. It is completely receptive. And God pours His love into your consciousness because God is what love is. It doesn't stop. It has no limitation. It is eternal. It is literally rejoicing in the love of God. And that is the activity of your consciousness in reality. So this is my, this is what came to me. And I love it because it's much easier to literally use the word forgiveness than to go through a procedure of thinking that you have to do this first, then that and that, and not really knowing what impersonalization is. Well, forgiveness is this: let go of what you think is going on, because you're wrong. You're not. You cannot judge what's going on. No, just connect with your open consciousness, and everything is included. It doesn't need to resist anything. There is no threat in it because there's nothing outside of it. I can read the seventh secret: non-resistance and impersonalization. Instead of fighting or resisting error, you deny it a place in consciousness by impersonalizing it. You discover it as a universal, unreal, mesmeric suggestion rather than a personal power or problem. This opens the way to return to the realization of the absolute perfection of God's being. So that is what forgiveness is. Like, forgiveness is leaving everything so that truth can be true. Judging others. Judge not, that you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. Give love, and love will be given you. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Forgive yourself the idea that you could be separate from what everything is, and you will be forgiven, because you're only forgiving yourself anyway. There's nothing outside of your consciousness. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. You're literally doing that to yourself. So Jesus also told a parable. Can a blind man lead a blind man? Will they not both fall into a pit? A disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone, when he is fully trained, will be like his teacher. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, "Brother, let me take out the speck that is in your eye," when you yourself do not see the log that is in your own eye? You hypocrite! First, take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take out the speck that is in your brother's eye. So this is all from Luke 6. The words of Jesus. When you judge someone as separate, different and apart from you, you have not seen anyone. You separate yourself off of totality. I shared that. Trusting your perception is the origin of separation. You have materialized an idea and taken it for a fact, as a reality. In that instant, mesmerism becomes your reality. But it has nothing to do with who you truly are. It is just a dream. Alright, so one more, and that's the beautiful poem from Teilhard de Chardin. Give me to recognize in other men, Lord God, the radiance of your own face, the irresistible light of your eyes, shining in the depths of things, has already driven me into undertakings, the work I had to do, and facing the difficulties I had to overcome. Grant me now to see you also, and above all, in the most inward, most perfect, most remote levels of the souls of my brother men. The gift you ask of me for these brothers of mine, the only gift my heart can give them, is not the overflowing tenderness of those special, preferential loves which you implant in our lives as the most powerful created agent for our inward growth. It is something less tender, but just as real, and of even greater strength. Your will is that, with the help of your Eucharist, between men and my brother, men, there could be revealed that basic attraction, already dimly felt in every love once it becomes strong, which mystically transforms the myriads of rational creatures into, as it were, a single monad in you, Christ Jesus. This was my introduction to the video that we're going to watch now, which has everything to do with what I was sharing about. So Joel starts with an idea of mind, and it is interesting because he says, like, the word mind cannot be translated into German. So Germans have a lot of difficulties, in fact, coming into metaphysical literature. Now, the interesting thing is that I'm from there. I'm familiar with the German language as well as the Dutch. And so we have invented a word now for mind, which is like thinking spirit, kind of like that. So it's like, or in German, meine Gedanken, my thoughts, instead of mind, because mind is also abstract. You don't know what mind is. You have an idea about it, but you can say, like, is that the part where you have thoughts or not? Well, so that's for you to find out. So we're going to start to listen to Joel and see it from there.
Good evening. I'm sure you know that to me, this class has been a beautiful one. The depth of consciousness of the students has really brought forth the depth of the message. And it is going to be necessary for you, in order to receive the greatest benefit from it, to study these tapes as seriously and as often as possible. When the Master taught, there were very few capable of reading and writing, and very few notes were made of what he said. It was 30 years after the crucifixion before the first of the Gospels was written. 30 years, they had no written message of the Master except a few little notes that some of the disciples had. Of course, it is no wonder that the Gospels themselves are not in agreement with each other on all points. In fact, they differ on many points. And they have been translated from Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, Latin, one language to another, finally into English. And it's no wonder that there are discrepancies there. We have an illustration of that in our modern day translating. There are no metaphysical works translated into German correctly. None whatsoever. And the reason is that the German language has no word for mind. And mind is the most important word in the metaphysical world. And the correct understanding of the meaning of mind is important. And here's a language that doesn't even have the word, and it has no other word that would take its place. Therefore, each translator selects some word that they think comes close to describing what mind means in English, and the result is that none of them really do. You can see what a tremendous disadvantage you would be under if you had no understanding of the word mind. All of your metaphysical books would be difficult for you without that one word. Today we don't have that difficulty. Today nobody has to trust to their memory. We don't even have to trust to a stenographer, because the actual words are taken down, sentences, paragraphs. The message is taken down complete, full, at the very moment that it is spoken, so that there isn't a single word missing, and the inflection of the voice carries its meaning. Then in transcribing into print, there is little or no reason for any mistake, as long as we are in the English language. Now, when the Master gave a message, the multitudes had to take it home and think about it. But actually, they had to get home and prepare an evening meal. Or the fishermen had to get out on their boats. And so you can realize how difficult it must have been really to absorb the message of the Master. Today, no one has to rely on their memory. You can go home, you can take the books, you can find ways to make the recordings available, and so have the message exactly as it is. And the reason this is important is this. A message, well, a principle, is of no value at all as a principle. It is only of value as you know the principle and live with it and live by it. It is your own ability to grasp its meaning, put it into practice, that makes the principle of value to you. It doesn't differ from the principle of automobiling or airplaning. These two are principles, but you can't do anything with those principles until somebody hooks them up into machines. And so with these principles, you wouldn't go to a metaphysical practitioner unless you knew that that practitioner knew the principles, had learned to apply them, and had attained some proficiency in the application of these principles. Well, it is exactly the same with you. You cannot apply these principles in your home, in your community, in your nation, in the world at large, unless first of all you know them, and then secondly attain some measure of proficiency in the application of the principles. Now, the most important principle revealed in the message of the Infinite Way is the most difficult for you to put into practice, and it is particularly difficult for those who have some metaphysical background. If anything, it is more difficult for them, and yet it is the most important principle of our message, and the one that produces the greatest fruitage, the greatest healings, the greatest rejuvenated lives. That principle is impersonalization. When, we'll just start in our home. And we have a member of the family, everyone has, who is not living up to the highest standards of humanhood, much more of spiritual identity. Some member of the family who is unruly, disobedient, untruthful, untrustworthy, unfaithful, or some member of the family who is not up to the standard of health, physically or mentally or morally. And it is your function to bring about a change in that situation. It is your household. You should certainly permit nothing to enter your household that defileth or maketh a lie. That is, if you know how to exclude it, eliminate it. Nor would you tolerate an evil within your family circle if you knew how to heal it, overcome it, change it. Nor would you tolerate a sick person in your household if you knew how to make them well. Then each of us has a responsibility in our own home. We are not necessarily responsible that everybody in our home be pure, or that everyone in our home conform to our standards of life, since one of the benefits of living in free countries is that each one is an individual and has the right to live their own lives. But this is only true up to a certain point. We have liberty, but we don't have license. And there are things that we have no right to tolerate in our home, if we know how to prevent its being there or to eliminate it after it's there. And so the question comes, how can I change the atmosphere of my home? How can I improve it? Or even if it is humanly good, how can I lift it above human goodness into the demonstration of spiritual harmony, spiritual health, spiritual purity, spiritual abundance? And so we come to these three principles of the infinite way with which we have been working this week. The first of which is your remembrance that God constitutes individual being. It makes no difference whether at the moment we are looking at a person in sin or in disease or nearing death. The truth of being is that, and we are disregarding appearances now and judging righteous judgment, God constitutes individual being. And if we have 4 or 5 or 6 members of our family, then God constitutes the being of every individual in our household. God is the quality, God is the quantity, God is the essence, God is the law unto every individual in this household. God constitutes their being, therefore their nature is pure, their nature is godly, their nature is good. Now, with that, we can turn to this which is the most important step of all and the most important principle, that of impersonalization. Whether a member of the family is inflicted with sickness or sin, false appetite, unemployment, lack, bad disposition, hate, envy, jealousy, malice. This is the step, and it's difficult. You must impersonalize. You must be able to look at that individual, realizing that their nature is godly, and that this sin, disease, whatever it may be, is not of that person, but is of, has its source in the carnal mind. This of which they are the victim, this which is manifesting itself in them, on them, through them, this actually is an activity or substance of the carnal mind or mortal mind, or devil. Now, notice how that violates what you have been thinking of them, or perhaps through your metaphysical background, how you've been looking into their consciousness to find the error so that you could remove it. Or how you were blaming their religious beliefs or lack of religious beliefs. Or how in some way or other you were seeking to eradicate the error from them. Now you can't do that, because the error never was a part of their being. God has constituted their being from everlasting to everlasting. For this reason, you must never use the name of a person in treatment, nor must you ever name the disease in treatment, or the claim, because then you are personalizing it, you are fastening it right to the individual you would see freed. This then, this trait of character, this quality of character, this evil nature, this false appetite, this diseased condition, this is an activity, a substance of carnal mind. When you have impersonalized it thus, to the extent that you really have released the individual and can see that this is something not of them, but something that exists only in the carnal mind, now you take the final step or third point. There is only one mind, and therefore there is no carnal mind or mortal mind. That which you have termed carnal mind or mortal mind is not a mind at all. It is a belief in two powers. Once there is no belief in two powers, there is no carnal mind. In other words, if we could wholly remove from ourselves in this room the belief in two powers, there would be no human beings left in this room. There would only be children of God, or Adam in the Garden of Eden. Adam before they ate the fruit. All there is to humanhood is a belief in two powers. Without the belief in two powers, you have no human race anymore. You have only immortal beings. Of course, you go up to the mirror and say, I look the same. Yes, you probably would for a little while, but very quickly your appearance would change, because there'd be no anxiety in your face at all. There couldn't be, because there's only one power. You have nothing to be anxious about. If there is no power in birthdays, you don't even have to fear that 80th or 90th birthday. If there are not two powers, you don't have to fear infection, contagion, or as some of our metaphysicians insist on doing, fearing other religions and people of other religions as if they had some weird and terrible power. I know one man, a metaphysical teacher, who was very certain that Catholics, Jews, Orientals, and nationals of all countries except the United States and Canada are the United States and England are the very devil. Oh, we Anglo-Saxons are God's perfect children. But all the rest you must protect yourself from. It's utter nonsense, because there's only one power. Only one. And not only that, there is really only one being. Only one, infinitely manifested, but it is the one being. I hope you won't be surprised in the not too distant future when you see one flag at the top of every flagpole in the civilized world. Only one. And that will be the flag which will be the flag of all peoples. Under that flag There will be the Stars and Stripes in the United States and the Union Jack over here and the tricolor in France. But that will only be the secondary flag, which denotes our separateness as an individual form of government under the one government. And then under that flag will be another. In the states it will be the state flag of each state. And over here it will be the dominion flag of each particular dominion, and so on throughout the world. Now, in the states, we have now 50 flags, 50 state flags. We all fly them. But in looking at them, no one looks on them as if this is my state. Because actually it isn't. You live in one state this year, you may be living in another one next year, and you'd have a different state flag. And you don't change your allegiance when you change states. You just have that state flag up as a symbol. So the day will be when we will live in the States, or we will live in England or Australia or Africa, wherever we like, wherever it seems best for our interests at the moment, and we will not have to forswear any loyalties, because these flags will only represent the symbol, the sign of our particular state. But the government will rest with that government on top, representing that one flag. It may be United Nations or a body similar to them, but it will be a United States of the world. It has to be eventually, otherwise there will be no world at all. So we will break down these barriers of my nation or my church, or a right church or a wrong church, and eventually we will find even within all of these churches a universal principle that will be taught. Now, back again to your home. Every individual in that home is constituted of God and has a godly nature, regardless of any appearance to the contrary. And the appearance, which is what we're dealing with, the particular form of evil, this is an activity or substance of carnal mind. Absolutely not a part of individual being. But there is no carnal mind, because there cannot be one infinite mind and another mind. Therefore, we only use the word carnal mind, the term carnal mind, to designate the belief in two powers. That's the only reason we use it. We could say, oh, all of this evil is a belief in two powers. It just makes it a little easier to boil it down to carnal mind or mortal mind. But here is the important point. Whereas Paul says the carnal mind is enmity against God, whereas some religions teach you must protect yourself from mortal mind, the truth is carnal mind isn't enmity against divine mind or God, because there is no carnal mind. There is only a belief in two powers, and a belief can't be a power unless somebody accepts the belief. And that's what gives it its power. In the same way, there is no such thing as mortal mind. Mrs. Eddy herself saw that, you know, when she said mortal mind is a term denoting nothingness. Had we been able consistently to adhere to that statement, we wouldn't be busy protecting ourselves from mortal mind or from other influences, because we would know how can a term denoting nothingness have action, power, or law. Now this is the foundation of our healing work, and it is the very thing that has kept my work going 30 years, and this particular work in its 14th year. This very principle that we must not judge, criticize, condemn anyone, any group, any nation, any religion. That doesn't mean that we're blind to their faults. It means that we must not see them as a power. Do you see the difference? I'm not blind to the fault of a political candidate who doesn't mean well by his nation or state. I'm not blind to it, and I certainly won't vote for him. But I do know that the quality of dishonesty, disloyalty, treason, whatever you call it, isn't power, because it's not of man. It isn't the man that's that way. He has accepted carnal mind, and now we'll help him be rid of it by knowing the truth. The carnal mind isn't a mind. It is a belief in two powers, and we don't have that belief. And one with God is a majority. Now, when you practice these three principles in your home, and you begin to see some changes, then you broaden your horizon. Then when you go out into your shops to market, to shop, when you go into your business office or factory, when you're driving on the road or in a bus, then you begin to practice these three principles on a wider scale. The moment you leave your home, you are faced with, so many pictures of the carnal mind. Drunkenness here, obscenity here, vice here, mean disposition here, poverty here, deformity here. You can't pass by on the other side of the road. You can't do that. You have to be the one that goes and ministers. Only you don't have to leave your seat or leave your task or whatever it is you're doing. All you have to do is get busy. God constitutes all being. Therefore, the nature of man is godly. Even the body is the temple of the living God. Body, mind, soul, and spirit. These are the temple of the living God. And this that I'm seeing or hearing, this is carnal mind, mortal mind, the arm of flesh, nothingness. It's a belief in two powers. Thank God I know enough to know that there is only one power, one mind, one life, one law. That law is spiritual law.
All right, thank you, Joel. That law is spiritual law. So that was a great point to stop. Of course, you want to know the rest of the tape too. And they're available. So they're online at the EVUp YouTube channel. You can check them out. And they come also, like in the email that I sent to the ones that are here. Like, there's always the reference of, this is the tape that we're listening to. So if you have like, I need to listen to this one more time, then you go to your email and you can step right in, so to speak. Now this is just wonderful. So thank you so much for joining today in this discovering the secrets. And you could see, like, this is really lovely what Joel is bringing to us. And so the combination of the three steps that he's talking about and seeing that as forgiveness is also like completely say, allowed, so to speak. That's totally a part of it. And it makes it maybe a little bit easier for you to, it's like, let go of what I think is going on. I forgive. I give this away. I'm not taking this in as a standpoint or as a belief or as a real thing. No, I'm going to let it go. In order for truth to just be true, and for me to find myself in the one consciousness. So I and my Father are one is a majority. So that's really great as a remembering too. It's like, I'm in a majority. Like, my Father and I are one. And it's all inclusive. It doesn't exclude anyone. And it goes totally beyond any idea that I have. So that is so lovely. So I'm really happy that this came to the service and that we could share this. It was a real secret revealed. So practice it, use it, and I hope to see you next week. And thank you for everything. Thank you so much. Bye for now. I'm going to play music though. So if you want to stay, please do. And see you later. Thank you so much.